All right, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Geeked Out. After doing the review of Zack Snyder's Justice League in our first episode, we decided to do something a little different this time, and we're going to run through each of our top 5 movies that kind of helped us fall in love with theater and movies and cinema, things like that, and kind of movies that just shaped who we are as people. And you know, anything else to add?
Yeah, just like movies that define us. That's basically my list. Ones that turned me into a fan of film, and ones that really, stuck with me and kind of shaped my overall personality. Some of them, and I got a ton of honorable mentions that have definitely. A couple of them have still to this day changed the way I. Enter certain situations, even driving.
Oh yeah, I have quite a few honorable mentions myself. Probably, I don't know if I have as many as you, but why don't we?
I have so many. I just kept writing more and more.
I probably could have, but I tried to hold back, and I've got stuff from when I my childhood to up to even stuff even current stuff that's kind of reinvigorated.
Because there's so many. You know what I mean? There's so many movies that. If this was to have it, to be honest, you would have the list would have to be 50, even a top 100.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? But let's not do an 11-hour podcast. Keep it to around an hour and a half.
Yeah, we'll
top 5.
Maybe we'll do an 11-hour podcast sometime down the road.
Right? Maybe our 100th episode or something.
All right. So we'll start at our number 5 spot. Do you want to go or you want me to go?
You can go.
All right. So number 5, I have Apollo 13.
Ooh.
Now, when I first saw this movie when I was a kid, obviously Ron Howard directed with Tom Hanks.
How old were you when you seen it?
Oh, well, it came out in '95. I probably saw it maybe the next year, the year after, so I would have been 11, 12 years old.
Okay.
So I didn't know about it because obviously I wasn't around in '69 or whenever it took place.
Yeah.
But I thought it sounded interesting, and then I saw the movie, and it's amazing that in that movie, Ron Howard is able to convey suspense and just heart-pounding tension at something as little as waiting for their signal to be just waiting to hear their voices, to whether or not they've come through or not at the end of the movie when it's the signal.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where you feel like you are right next to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Experience, you know what I mean? Experiencing that tension with.
And that's what I mean. It's tension not built from a heist or a high-speed chase or something like that. It's so palpable of just characters are literally staring at a blank television screen or a radio waiting to hear someone's voice, and the tension is palpable in that moment. And that movie it showed me that a great movie doesn't, because a lot of stuff when I was younger, you have the action movies, the comedies, the stuff, and this movie was just.
This is the first movie that made you realize okay, movies can be great.
Well, not just movies can be great, but dramas, slow paced, dramas, and showing movies. Those true stories and how great those things can be, and it's so well acted and directed, and it looks fantastic, and it's such a great movie to me.
It's really good. I honestly haven't seen it in so long, but when I seen it a little bit later in life, I remember liking it. I remember the cast was fucking phenomenal. You had what was it? Tom Hanks, right?
Oh yeah, you got Tom Hanks.
The dude from
Kevin Bacon,
CSI New York. I just call him CSI.
Gary
New York.
Sinise, yeah. Bill Paxton, Ed Harris.
What's his face? The dad. That 70 Show's dad in there.
No, he's not in that one.
Oh, okay.
No, but yeah, the cast is it's fantastic, and to me, it's a great movie. It's a great way to introduce yourself if you wanted to look at those slower paced dramas that are able to hold your attention, and you don't feel the length of the movie with that at all. It just it flies by at a clip. It's edited so well. It's paced so well. To me, it's just a fantastic movie.
And it's based on a real life event, right? So it has that extra layer too.
Oh, then that just thinking about that and what those guys went through, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's deserving to be a plot of a movie because that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. All right, what do you have for your your number 5 spot?
My number 5 is a movie that is the first thing I was a fan of growing up. It was the first thing I was obsessed with, and I am still a fan of the franchise to this day. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
That movie, I love it so much, and the reason why it's on the list is because it doesn't matter what's... I could be feeling down, I could have a tough week, or any point in time, I could throw that movie on, and I am right back to where I was when I was a kid. It just brings me right back to a simpler time in my life.
Okay.
And it still holds up to me. It's one of those movies that still holds up. It's not a, even though it's, it's so cheesy, but that was the point of the movie even back then.
Absolutely. But it is very, very cheesy.
But they blended, it was the movie that they blended the cartoons with almost the comic book. Because the comic book that it was based off was very adult. They were actually murdering people and it was taken serious. And then you had the cartoon,
which was for kids.
So it was, honestly, for me, it was the perfect blend of those two worlds.
See, I never read the comic book. I mean, I watched a lot of the cartoon as a kid. I haven't revisited any of the original Ninja Turtles movies. For me, and I don't ask why, but for me, the one that always stands out with those is probably the one that I watch the most, which for some unknown reason is Ninja Turtles 3. They're what myself and many people that I've heard on other podcasts or friends of mine, we've all agreed that movie should have been called Turtles in Time.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity for sure.
But for some reason, that's the one that always sticks out to me, and it is by far the worst of the three. But it's that movie has the nostalgia for me to be the favorite of the original. But I haven't revisited the original Ninja Turtles in I would probably say at least 10 years.
Oh yeah, the original,
if not longer.
The original holds up. The second one, Secret of the Ooze, not so much, just because you have a whole dance number with Vanilla Ice. Even though I like the ninja rap, and he literally comes up with a whole rap
on the spot and a choreographed dance,
and like knows their names, and it was crazy. That part is mind blowing. Vanilla Ice is some type of wizard in that movie. Anyways, beyond that, it doesn't hold up as much as the first one. And even the second one, they treated it almost more for kids, because I don't even think they used their weapons.
No, and I was just going to say that I vividly remember in the second movie the scene I think they're in a mall, but
Yep. And it seemed like the downstairs basement of a mall.
Yeah. When Michelangelo, instead of using the nunchucks that he has, grabs a pair of sausage links and starts using them and it's just... I mean, to use a word that has now to use a word that's now become in everybody's vocabulary, it's borderline cringy.
Yeah, that
not for the way not for the way that people use cringy now, but just to look back on it and be like, this is what we liked. It's man.
They definitely made it more towards kids to, I don't know, gain a profit or whatever. I don't know. It just didn't take itself as serious as the first one.
But it did the same. It seemed like a lot of things like that in the 90s were doing that. I mean, you went from... You had Tim Burton doing the Batman, and then Batman Returns was so much darker.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like the studios said, you know what? People loved these movies, but we want to make these for kids, so we're going to give the franchise to Schumacher, and it's just going to be neon, and we're going to market toys, and
Bat nipples.
Well, the bat nipples is a whole other discussion, but they seemed like they wanted to push everything towards kids, and they didn't allow a lot of filmmakers to really uphold and fulfill the vision that they had going into it.
Yeah,
and
like keep the same energy, because the RoboCop franchise is another one that suffered because they went down in ratings. The first one was R. That was R.
Oh, 100%.
Motherfuckers were getting brutally shot, murdered. Motherfucker exploded because he looked like a mutant before. That whole freaking movie was one of my favorite movies.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we mentioned the RoboCop, but by the third movie, it was like PG-13, and there was very little violence in that movie.
And the violence that there was, it was very muted and very...
It was like not as visceral as the first one, and that's the reason why it's one of my favorite movies. RoboCop #1 is because it had that don't give a fuck violence and terrible
effects.
What's that freaking
the
claymation? It had like claymation special effects. It was awful, but for me it has a special place in my heart.
Well, I can totally respect that. All right, so we'll go with my number 4. I kind of cheated on this one a little bit. I've got 4 movies wrapped into this.
Oh my god, those are like sequels?
No, this is what has come to be known as the Disney Renaissance. So that's
4 different Disney movies?
Well, that's Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. It's kind of come to be known as the Disney Renaissance, and the reason, because those 4 movies were so impactful when I was a kid, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people out there listening, I mean, like, to see those stories told, and the animation was phenomenal, and the songs and the voice acting, it did something that I think that I realize now that a lot of animated movies now are missing, because back then it was, we're gonna make these characters, and we're gonna find the best voice actors that we can get, so who bring a certain personality to the character. Yeah. Nowadays it's just, we want to find somebody with a pre-existing fan base, and we're going to cast them in this movie, whether it matches them or not, whether it makes sense or not. But because if someone like a Justin Timberlake is cast in this movie, like when he was cast in the Trolls movie, if he's cast in this movie, all of his pre-existing fans are going to come out, and that's an easy payday for us. And we're going to do it with all of the other actors. And you take a lot of these voice actors in the world, the very talented ones, and you're putting them out of work, or not you, but like Hollywood, they're putting them out of work because everything is just name recognition.
Yeah.
But those original movies were so big to me. I mean, when I was a little kid, it was like Little Mermaid, of course, growing up. It was, those are girls' movies, and I don't like Disney princesses.
I never watched Little Mermaid, to be honest. I watched more Beauty and the Beast, but I never watched Little Mermaid just because, for me, it was like, I had that same mentality going in as a kid. It was too girly. There was no dudes except for the king. I didn't care about no old man.
I mean, I even thought that a lot when I was a kid, so I always leaned more towards Aladdin and the Lion King. But now that I've grown up and as an adult, and especially like I've started showing these movies to my daughter, and I can see that obviously it was just a thing of, it wasn't the cool thing, but there are so many things that those movies offer, and it's just, the story is fantastic, and thank God they are not what the original story of The Little Mermaid. There was no way you could get that made it's violent, it's horrific, the original story, but the way that Disney did it, it's just, it comes off as great, and the animation and the colors and the settings and everything. Those movies hold such a special place in my heart, and they really birthed my love of animation and animated movies, and even like animated TV shows and things like that it all stems from watching those core 4 movies when I was a kid.
And those old school movies taught you life lessons that you don't really see now. Like Lion King itself, like those, for a lot of people around our age.
Oh God,
that was the first movie they seen that had death.
And it was apparent.
Explain what death is and the circle of life, and like you realize, oh shoot, people actually die. Like, what is that?
Yeah, because kids movies up until then, it was nobody died. It was. I mean, you get things like the Bambis and things like that.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, nobody, a lot of people my age didn't have any interest in those because they were the old movies. And a lot of people don't, like, you got to think about it. Before those 4 movies came out, the Disney animation movies were in trouble. They were doing things like Black Cauldron and things like that
which does have a fan base, but
it does.
It's very
but people
small.
weren't
Like,
people
don't
weren't
really
going out to it, and
massive fan base,
and they were shying away from it, and then all of a sudden this came out, and it really reinvigorated Disney. And then eventually, like I say, my love of animated movies, which another, like, one of my honorable mentions being the love of animated movies, was Toy Story. I mean, Toy Story was huge when that came out. Utilizing computer graphics and to do an entire movie at that time, it was unbelievable, and it still lives on to this day. I mean, I don't know if there's a more emotional animated movie. I mean, possibly more emotional in general for me than watching Toy Story 3. The ending of that movie, I'm a puddle every time. It never fails, and it's because I saw the first movie when I was 8-9 years old, and I grew up with these characters, and then it's when you watch them saying goodbye, and it's like they're saying goodbye to you and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's such a personal connection with those movies, especially if you watched the other ones. You know, you grew up with them. Yeah, the Disney Renaissance was a good time. And I believe one of those movies was actually nominated for Best Picture. I don't know if it was Lion King or Snow.
I thought it was Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, it was Beauty and the Beast. That was the reason why now they have a Best Animated Movie, is because Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture. The Academy was like, nah, we have to separate this now.
Yeah.
Because of that movie.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't remember what won that year, but that movie, in my opinion, very deserving. I mean,
it was early 90s, so some fire must have won. That was in 92, 93?
So the movie came out in 91, so
91.
It would have been the 92 Academy Awards. I'll look that up really quickly.
I guarantee it was probably something fire.
Here, I'll just take a quick look. And Best Picture that year would have been...
Probably Shawshank or something.
No, Shawshank's later. Best Picture, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
So,
that makes sense.
Way on the other end of the spectrum.
Right. Yeah, that...
Another fantastic movie.
Mention, for sure.
Fantastic movie on a whole different level of why you like it and why it's a good movie, but absolutely. And I just love all those movies, and I really hope that the animated movies that we've got now continue and just keep getting better over the years, because they do. I mean, despite my dislike of some of the newer Pixar and Disney, and they've had quite a few flops over the past year or two.
Mm-hmm. I think what made those movies great too is because they were hand drawn.
Oh yeah.
I think the animators, just because they were hand drawn, they put a little bit more passion and care.
Absolutely.
And you kind of felt it.
Absolutely.
And also the freaking soundtracks. These songs are still iconic. I believe if the songs weren't as good or as catchy, they wouldn't hold such a strong hold in people's hearts as if they are. You know what I mean? Those songs are iconic, man.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean,
you know what I mean?
If you take anybody, whether it be our age, younger, older, it doesn't matter, and you start playing Circle of Life or A Whole New World or Beauty and the Beast, anything, every single one of them is going to know instantly what that is.
Yeah, they'll start singing it, even though if they thought they forgot the lyrics. All they have to
come
do
flooding
is
back.
Start singing it, and then it'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that makes a movie special when it does that. It has that effect on a whole generation.
Absolutely.
Of people, man. And it still holds up. Like, you can put those movies on for your children, and they will have the same experience, have the same feelings.
Yeah,
and connect with those characters as you did when you were that age. And that's, you don't... To me, there's not a lot of movies that hold up that you could do that to.
No,
besides Disney movies.
And I'd like to give my own personal recommendation. If you're showing these movies to your kids, please show them the animated ones first before you do these live action remakes.
Yeah.
These live action remakes, they're getting out of control. And I am don't get me wrong, I'm still going to see probably all of them because they're movies that I grew up with and I kind of want to see what they do, but they have not been good.
It's hard to even make the movies good because if you do a shot-for-shot remake, then it's like you might as well just watch the original.
Exactly.
If you add anything new, people are going to complain.
Well, that was the whole thing.
It's a lose-lose-lose situation.
Well, that was the whole thing when they had Will Smith sign on to do the Genie in Aladdin. And
whatever.
Everybody lost their minds, and
I haven't seen that.
And it's like I've seen it. I don't mind the movie, and I think he did a really good job. But the whole thing is everybody's like, well, he can't do it because he's not Robin Williams. No shit. Nobody is Robin Williams.
No.
He was one of a kind, and Will Smith did the really, really smart thing. He took that role and he made it his own. Mm-hmm. It was like he said, you know what? Robin Williams did this incredible thing. There's no way I can match it. So you know what? I'm not going to try. I'm just going to do what I think it needs. What I want to bring to this role. I'm not imitating. I'm not replicating. Nothing like that. And that was the best decision that he could have made. But some of the other ones, like the Lion King live action, that movie is terrible to me. It's borderline unwatchable for me.
What is killing them is the fact that they're making these animals too hyper realistic,
and then expect them to talk.
You can make them realistic, or at least not realistic, but more realistic versions
than a cartoon
of the cartoons they're based off of. If you did that, I think that would draw more people because you can't draw emotion out of a fucking tiger face.
No, and that's
or
the thing.
A fish flounder face.
See, I haven't seen
looking
that
at you,
yet.
Little Mermaid.
I haven't seen Little Mermaid yet. I haven't heard very good things.
The motherfucker was terrifying. He had a terrifying fish face.
Are you talking Flounder?
Yeah.
I've seen pictures and videos of him, and he does not look good. But
and Sebastian.
I have. Well, the Sebastian,
creepy.
They just use a regular crab, do they not?
Yeah, it's creepy though.
And that's because in the movie, in the animated, he doesn't look like a crab at all.
It's debated. Some people think he's a crab, some people think he's a lobster. It's like a fusion or something.
He's a crobster.
So I think that is what is a big reason why these movies aren't making as much money as they should, and people aren't going to see these movies, is because they're trying to make it too realistic when it doesn't have to be. The only one that I liked was The Jungle Book.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
That one was good. And like Cinderella 2, I think that was one of the first ones. But people forgot about Cinderella.
Yeah, because that was before the big. We're gonna remake everything live action.
Yeah, Cinderella was actually pretty good.
No, I really liked Jungle Book, but again, the whole thing is if you look at the premise of these movies, so Little Mermaid is mermaids, Beauty and the Beast is a guy magically transformed into a giant hairy monster,
and they made the Beast pretty in this one.
Well,
that one.
Well, then Aladdin, you've got a literal genie, and then you've got the Lion King, which is animals talking. Which, you know what I mean? All of these ideas are fantastical, so they only really work best in animation. So, and the fact that these movies are already done in animation, you can't do them any better. Had those movies never been made, and then all of a sudden now they're doing live action, and this was just a brand new idea, it would probably be fantastic. But because we have those to compare them to, they're never going to measure up. Because if you think of a mermaid, it's what's in your head is not what would be reality if it was a real thing, and that's why those movies work so well, because they allow that fantastical version and to be animated, which is the only way it can really be done.
Yeah. You have to pump your brakes on these live action remakes, man.
They're never going to stop. I feel like in 10 years we're going to get a live action remake of Encanto.
Well, we're already getting a live action remake of, was it Moana? That shit just came out.
Yeah.
It was not old. I am kind of looking forward to it only because there's not that many humans. Live action Toy Story. You know that's coming.
Oh,
that's on the horizon because they already gone through most of the Disney movies. Now they're gonna start doing because they're doing live action Lilo and Stitch.
No, I want one of my favorites.
It's only a matter of time for they to do Pixar live
One
action.
of my other favorite Disney movies. I want my live action Tarzan, not the Legend of Tarzan.
The one where he's fucking skateboarding.
Absolutely, I want to see.
I love that. They had an animated show I used to watch. I love that movie, man.
I want to see that version of Tarzan doing loop-de-loops in trees and crisscrossing his feet while I hear Phil Collins singing in the background.
Did he have dreadlocks in that? He had dreadlocks.
That's what they looked like because it was, and I think it was because it was easier to animate that than having him with long hair. Because
it was tight.
If you think a lot of the women, their hair's always a lot of times is tied up in a ponytail because it's easier to animate.
It's another movie too that
I love.
If you
Tarzan.
watched that as a kid. They had a scene where I think what was it? The bad guy gets hung.
Yeah, you see it
That's
in
how
shadow.
He dies.
In shadow, you see him hanging.
Yeah, you won't see that in today's kid movies.
Cool.
That was something that addressed it, and you realize that this motherfucker's dead, and they did it in a subtle way. And another movie that was around that time that I would love to see a live action is Hercules, man. I think they are doing it.
I believe I heard something about it. I don't know for sure that could be a fever dream that I had.
I freaking love Hercules. Shout out to Hercules, man.
I saw that movie for the first time in a drive-in theater as a double feature with Air Bud.
Oh, that's a tight double feature, man. Jealous.
We went camping with my family and a friend's family, and there was a drive-in, and we said, "Yeah, let's go." And it was Air Bud and Hercules, and
that's tight.
It was fun. It was good. It was a great movie as well. All right, let's do yours. I believe we're at
number 4.
Oh God, we're still at 4.
Okay, that's all right. My number 4. It was.
The last minute change.
Yeah, basically, the slot is a Tarantino movie.
Oh.
Okay, I first put Pulp Fiction. That was the slot because by default
that's the Tarantino.
I put that
movie.
as my Tarantino movie.
I think most people put that as their Tarantino movie. I don't personally. I don't, but that's
it'd be
just
like
me.
the basic bitch answer for their favorite Tarantino movie, right?
Yeah,
that or Reservoir Dogs if you want to get
technically
snob about it. No. But for me, it's Jackie Brown.
Okay, you know what? That's a movie I've actually never seen.
Dude, that's so underrated. I think it's right up there with his best work. I think it's better than like Kill Bill and all that, just because it's the cast alone. It's amazing, man. It's some of the best performances of these actors I've seen. One of them, it's up there. Like one of the best performances of Samuel Jackson. One of the best performances of Robert De Niro. Who else is in that movie?
But how many snakes does Sam Jackson fight? Especially on a plane.
0. But there's a scene with Chris Tucker in that movie and him that's just
I don't know how
brilliant, man. That movie is incredible.
I am looking at the cast list. I don't know how I never saw this movie.
And I think it's one of the only Tarantino movies that it wasn't his idea, or I don't know. I know he wrote it. But
he it says he wrote it with I think it says here Elmore Leonard. It says he wrote a novel called Rum Punch.
Yeah, it's
so Tarantino would have written it off. I'm guessing they collaborated, but
yeah, it's one of the only. Yeah, I think it's the only Tarantino movie that's not
his original idea.
Exactly, his completely original idea. And
I mean,
it's just such a well put together movie, well acted. The dialogue is great. Pam Grier, who was a pioneer actress of like the blaxploitation era, her performance is just masterful. Everyone's performance is masterful in that, but she definitely deserves a special shout out because she definitely carries that movie.
I like I say, I'm just looking at this cast list and I'm blown away by some of the people in here. Like,
dude, you got
like
slept
you say,
on, man.
Well, like you say, you got Pam Grier, you got Sam Jackson, you got Bridget Fonda, Michael Keaton.
I forgot Michael Keaton's in that movie.
Robert De Niro, you got Chris Tucker, you've got Tom Lister Jr. And then you got fucking Sid Haig. Sid Haig.
Yeah, it's
Like I'm
the cast is incredible, and
I'm gonna have to put this absolutely on a must-watch list.
Yeah, the combination of direction, cast, dialogue makes that movie masterclass, man. And to me, my favorite Tarantino movie.
Okay, like I say, I'm gonna have to watch that one.
You have to.
I don't remember it being so. I think I said it just said when I was looking it up on IMDb. It says it came out in '97, so that would have made me 11.
Yeah, it was 10.
So maybe 11. So I don't think it would have been something that was marketed obviously to my age.
I don't remember what age I seen this movie. I had to have been a teen. Yeah, it was definitely a movie that defined my.
I don't think you would have been seeing a Tarantino movie at 10.
Dude, yeah, I watched some questionable movies very young. But yeah, this movie defined my, I would say, early adolescence.
Okay.
It was a movie that I recognized movies can have great direction and dialogue and not all about action or comedy or wackiness. It was something that was just very well put together. And I recognized that at a young age, and it just made me...
So kind of the way I looked at Apollo 13.
Yeah.
Without the action and with being able to follow a story. Yeah, that... Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's something, like I said, that's something I'm definitely going to have to watch. Yeah, it just, like I said, in 97, it wasn't marketed to me, and then as I got older, I don't think any of my friends were talking about it or anything like that, so it kind of slipped past my radar. And
yeah, it gets slept on by a lot of people.
No, it's something I'll definitely have to go back.
Yeah.
Go back and check out, and then maybe I'll let you guys know in the future what I thought of it when I finally get around to watching it.
You down to watch that movie again?
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll do that one. Yeah. Alright, so for me, I was really tossed up. I have two movies. I basically put them at number 3 and number 2. I was doing a lot of flip-flopping of which one goes where and which... But at number 3, I have to go Back to the Future.
Nice.
Now, this to me, Back to the Future is almost to me it's as close to a perfect movie as you can have, and in my opinion, it's got suspense, it's got that romance, that love story, albeit it's a weird one. And don't get me wrong, there are very, very problematic things in this movie, but when I first saw this movie, it was just... And then you've got the action, you've got such great character portrayals. I mean, Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown is iconic. You got Michael J. Fox, who the behind the scenes with him that he was doing Family Ties during the day, and then Back to the Future at night every day for months at a time is unbelievable.
And the fact that they filmed basically the whole movie with another actor.
Eric Stoltz.
Which is crazy because studios don't really do that. They don't really film a whole movie with an actor.
No, we're gonna have to one day do an episode on Back to the Future and get into that whole thing. I mean, everybody's heard it 1,000 times, but it's something that deserves to be talked about again. I find it kind of funny, to be honest, but that's my side of things.
Back to the Future is one of those movies that just showcases how good Michael J. Fox is, man.
But I mean,
he is great, even though he's not insanely gut busty. It's just he's so charming.
Yes, he's not
charismatic.
He's not funny like Will Ferrell. He's not that chiseled handsomeness like a Tom Cruise. He's almost like
he's like a jack of all trades.
Well, I was gonna say, a lot of people look at a movie like Die Hard and they say it was so popular because Bruce Willis is the everyman.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox is the everyman from a different point of view. He's obviously Die Hard, they're action movies where Michael J. Fox seems more the everyman that we could actually attain to be. Whereas I don't think any of us are going to be in Nakatomi Tower anytime soon when people come in for a robbery. But
you don't know the life I live.
But
not, though.
But again, I don't think any of us are going to go back in time in a DeLorean either. But it's just, he's, like you say, he's so charming and he's so easy to watch and root for, and then what I think is and I've heard this said before on another podcast. Thomas F. Wilson as Biff Tannen. I've heard it's something I've heard him call before. It's basically he is in my opinion he is cinema's greatest bully. He is so good to me in all three of the movies.
He is like the bully of which all bullies should be based off of.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, he is the quintessential blueprint of what a movie bully should
And what I love about it is when you watch those movies, you cannot help but just hate Biff Tannen.
Yeah, he's got like a face you want to hit. Like, he's just got a whole look of him, and he looks like an asshole. Like, they picked that actor was perfect to play that character.
Oh, he was great. But then the funniest thing is, everything that I've heard about what he's like outside of that, like as a regular person, from everything I've heard, he is the nicest guy you could ever possibly. But then as soon as
I don't believe that.
As soon as
Biff.
But then it's like as soon as Zemeckis would say action, it's like he just becomes this character, and I mean, again, with the whole attempted rape in that movie, that there's all kinds of problematic things, the mother son issue, but yeah. I can like you said about Ninja Turtles, if I'm feeling a certain way and I just want to, if I'm feeling down or something and I just want to pick me up and I want to laugh and any of that stuff, I'll pop in Back to the Future.
It's one of those movies that if you're just flipping the channels and that comes on, you're going to watch the rest of the movie.
Every time.
It doesn't matter what point
in
which the movie's at. You're going to watch the rest of it.
Unless I absolutely have somewhere to be, I will park my ass on the couch and I will watch. I will watch that DeLorean hit 88 miles an hour, go to 1955.
Right?
And, oh yeah.
Even though I know how the movie ends every time, I'm like, oh man.
There is.
Is he gonna make it?
That's one thing that Zemeckis is so good at doing. That suspenseful last minute when Doc is trying to hook up those cords. It's like you say, you've seen it 1,000 times, and every single time, you see movies where it's suspenseful at the end, and it's like, well, why is it? I don't know. I know it happens, but that movie, there's some magic about it that. Every time you watch it, it's like, oh my God, is he going to do it? And Marty's coming, he's got to get him hooked up, and it's just so good.
Yeah, even though the sequels are good, to me, it's one of those, the first one is like a lightning in the bottle.
Absolutely.
It is a lightning in the bottle, because that movie came out the perfect time, had the perfect people behind it, the perfect cast after they recasted the main star.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would put it up there as, to me, it's a perfect film. Because it checks off all the boxes, man. For me,
oh yeah,
to qualify as a perfect movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll now move on, and I believe it's your number 3 spot.
Okay, number 3. This should have been number 4, but whatever.
Did you go out of order?
Yeah, I went a little out of order with this one because this one defined my childhood. This movie basically took over my entire life for definitely that summer and when it came out on VHS.
Oh, VHS.
And it came with a special coin that you got that was attached to the packaging, and everything about this movie just spoke to me because I was a huge fan of one aspect of the movie and a huge fan of the other one. The movie is Space Jam.
Oh boy.
I love that movie. You know what I mean? I'm a huge fan of Looney Tunes. To me, that I can watch that any time of day, at any point. I just love Looney Tunes. And at the time, I was watching basketball. And Michael Jordan, much like a lot of kids in the 90s, was their favorite basketball player. So the merging of those two just blew my mind. Everything about that movie, the marketing, the poster, where you had Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan, that, to me, is one of the most iconic posters ever. And then you had, right? Oh, jeez. I love that poster. And that summer, I wanted everything Space Jam. I had the little Michael Jordan doll. I had the secret stuff, freaking candy. I had posters that pressed it and it voice activated scenes from the movie. That movie took over my whole summer and my childhood, man. I freaking love that movie. Yeah, and it was one of those movies just like TMNT where I can watch it and I will instantly revert back to my, I don't know, 8-9-year-old self when I watched it. It has such a strong nostalgic feeling for me that it had to be on that list. It had to be on that list. The soundtrack alone is iconic, man. Unfortunately, the artist that made that song of the summer is,
Well, he flew somewhere.
He's definitely kind of shunned now, but I can't deny that soundtrack was fire. And yeah, man, for me, it's one of my favorite movies of my childhood.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could have said anything better. I love that movie.
That movie's great. Even though Michael Jordan's acting.
Oh, he's god awful.
Awful. I didn't even then as a kid, I recognized like he's not putting nothing. I didn't even care. I just cared about Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes, two of the things that I was a huge fan of at the time, were teaming up for a movie. That just blew my mind. I didn't think that was even possible.
No, I completely agree. Like you say, I was also, my dad got me. My dad is a huge fan of the Looney Tunes when he was growing up, and he got me into it, and the love for those characters. And then again, I'm a big sports guy, so I was a huge Michael Jordan fan. I mean, it's kind of ironic because I'm a Pistons fan, but so had I known back then, like when I was 10 years old, you're not thinking a lot of times of like the rivalries and this and that. But
yeah.
Had I been an adult back then, I probably would have despised Michael Jordan because you're a Pistons fan. Well, fuck the Bulls. Like, come on.
Well, I knew a lot of kids that their favorite teams were other teams, but even then they liked Michael Jordan in Space Jam.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's just like, especially if I was, like I say, it's just there was that history with the Bad Boys and the Bulls and all that stuff that I don't really remember because I was too young at the time. But so I mean, I'll say this: I was a big Pistons fan. I still am a Pistons fan, but I had, because of Michael Jordan, that fucking starter jacket that we all had in the 90s, that pullover starter jacket.
You want the big pocket?
That big pocket in the front. I had a Chicago Bulls one because of Michael Jordan.
I think I might have had. I forget which one I had.
It seemed like most people in my school either had a Bulls or a Hornets one. I don't know why it was those two.
They probably made the most. They made those the cheapest ones.
But no, I remember this movie very well. I think I might have seen it in theaters. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, yeah, I loved this movie. Like you say, it combined those two things, and again, the acting was horrible, but then you had like the little comedic moments. You had the Bill Murray with the Larry Bird scene, and with Wayne Knight and his antics, and then like you say, his acting is terrible. But then they made that remake, and good fucking Christ.
Well, it was just soulless.
Well, it is, but I'll say, like, in that remake, LeBron James acts circles around Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely the better actor, but just in the worst movie.
Yeah, that movie was terrible, and they should never have... I mean, when it was first announced, I was very skeptical, and it turned rightly so, but...
It would have been a better movie if they didn't use, for the Monstars or whatever, basketball players. They should have used characters from the WB movies.
Yes,
so it was LeBron James versus fucking King Kong or something.
King Kong and Superman.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better. But they wanted to incorporate the NBA, and I get that. I get why they did it. It was a marketing thing. It was a way for them to make money. And I mean, at the end of the day, this is a business. But I think there was a way they could have done it better. But no, that original movie was fun. It was funny, and then it just, and like you say, to watch, it was an achievement.
Definitely was.
Especially when you combine the live action with the animation, and it's a lot like, I mean, it was done a little earlier, but it's funny that it's on my honorable mentions was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
When that movie was iconic for combining the live action with the animated, and Space Jam did the same thing. And I mean, from everything I've read and heard, when they do that type of stuff, it is so difficult on the actors because it's just like the CGI thing. They're looking at a tennis ball or at something, and it's just to try to act off of that. And then you've got script directors or whoever it is off camera reading the lines that these animated characters are reading, and you're supposed to react emotionally to that, and just So I mean, I think that while Michael Jordan's acting wasn't good, I also think that it being his first real...
It's hard to be good when you're acting in front of a fucking tennis ball.
And that being his first... I mean, he had done commercials before that, but that being his first time on set of a big movie, and this is what you're expected to do. I mean, one of my favorite... Actually, probably my favorite story of that movie is, in order for him to do it, they basically had to build him his own private basketball court on the Warner Brothers lot. I believe it was Warner Brothers.
Oh,
they had to build him his own court on the lot so that he could, in between filming, go and play and make sure he stayed in shape. Because when the movie came out, he had already come back to the NBA.
Okay.
The movie made it seem like it happened
during that.
Like the movie was released between, but it wasn't. But so he had already come back, and the stories that I've heard is he had all kinds of celebrities and actors and singers and different NBA players just randomly coming out for when they would have like a 3-hour break, and they'd play a game of 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, and just the names that I heard, they're not like off the top of my head. I can't think of a lot of them, but it's
pretty much the who's who of Hollywood.
Absolutely, Hollywood,
at that time,
NBA stars. Like it was a crazy thing, and it was a really cool thing to be a kid when that came out, because I can imagine if that came out, like if that movie never happened and the LeBron one came out, being an adult, it would have been like, oh, this will be interesting. But when I was a kid, it didn't quite take over me the same way it did you, but it was still a big thing when I was a kid. I don't think it would have been nearly that if I would have been an adult when it came out. It just would have been, oh, this will be cool, but it wouldn't have had the impact that it did.
Oh, that movie has left a mark on me, man.
I see.
Such a mark.
Alright, so next we're going to go... So my number 2... Now, the funny thing with this movie is... It's an older movie. It's from the 70s. You might already know where I'm going with this, especially if people listening know me well. So I'm a huge fan of this movie, and for the most part, most of the franchise. But the funny thing was, when I first watched this movie, I had no interest. I didn't like it. I didn't want to watch it. And my dad had gotten the movie. He got the trilogy. Hint, hint. But he got that, and he sat down, my brother and I, to watch it. And after about 20 to 25 minutes, I said, I'm not watching this nonsense. This is ridiculous. And I got up and walked away. And I don't know what it was. I can't remember if it was that day or the next day, or it might have been a month later. I don't remember. I went back to it, and I watched it just on my own, and I just allowed myself to be immersed in the story and all the stuff that came with it. And I just absolutely fell in love. And of course, that movie is Star Wars, or as everybody nowadays, I mean, even me, knows it as Episode 4, A New Hope. Like I said, first time I watched it, I had no interest, and then I came back to it, and it's just, it's so good. Like, everything about that movie, and I mean, this is obviously before I didn't even know about the spoilers later in the other movies, but I love watching this movie. Luke's journey from a little farm boy and I mean, kind of a whiner, to be honest. I want to go. Yeah. I want to go meet my friends. I want to join the rebellion. But then he finally goes, and he goes off on this mission and learns about this whole new, not only world but galaxy, and what he's capable of in terms of things like the Force. And then you get to meet, I mean, one of the coolest, most badass characters in any movie. And that's Harrison Ford. I mean, he plays Han Solo, but I mean, let's just be honest. Yeah, he's just Harrison Ford. He's Harrison Ford is Han Solo. He's Indiana Jones. He's president on Air Force One. I mean, he's just and that was my first introduction to him, really. And then you have people like Carrie Fisher, and you have James Earl Jones doing the voice. And the funny thing is, I believe I had heard the story that James Earl Jones didn't even want to be credited. He was uncredited for that movie because
I don't think he didn't want to. I think he just wasn't.
Well, I think he chose. I believe he chose that because he didn't think it was going to do anything. Because when the movie came out, everyone was like, "What is this sci-fi nonsense?" And just nobody got it. And George Lucas. I mean, I have a very strong love-hate relationship with George Lucas. Obviously, not personally. I don't know the guy, but I loved what he gave us in that original trilogy, and then 99 hit, and those prequels came out, and I don't get me wrong, in 99 I was 13. I saw Phantom Menace in theaters, and I liked it because I was 13. Mm-hmm. And then I went back years later and went, what the fuck?
Honestly, though, I have a newfound appreciation for the prequels only because the sequel trilogy is even worse. I would take the prequel trilogy over the sequel trilogy.
Wait. You didn't like Granddaughter Palpatine.
Like any of that. Force Awakens was alright, but it was just a remake of...
Well, Force Awakens, and that's what it was. They just kept... They wanted to hit the beats that original trilogy did, and then it just went off the rails. But good. No, I mean, that original movie, and every time I watch the original trilogy... As much as I like Return of the Jedi, that was probably my favorite when I was a kid, and a lot of that is because of the Ewoks. But every time I watch them now, I flip-flop between Empire or A New Hope, and as much as I love Empire, I always have to go back and look at it as A New Hope can... if you take any of those movies, A New Hope is the only one that could stand as its own film.
Yeah.
Like, the way it ends...
Doesn't have a huge cliffhanger.
Well, no, the way it ends, it's... Because that could just be the ending with Vader killing Obi-Wan and then them getting away and the whole thing, and then it continues, and like I say, I go back and forth between those two every time I watch them. Star Wars is just... It just has such a place in my heart as it does for millions and millions of fans around the world. And it's just so good. It's so good. I mean, down to the droids.
Yeah, man. It's George Lucas took elements from, old school serials from back in the day, and he took a little bit of here, took a little bit of Flash Gordon, kind of mixed them up, and created a masterpiece, man.
Well, that was his original idea. It was he wanted to make Flash Gordon in space, and it just transformed into what we know as Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. It's and when you see how the original was made and how it went way over budget, it went way over time. Studios had zero faith in it, and the fact that George Lucas got away with selling the rights to the movie to the studio, but keeping the rights to the merchandise, and because of that, studios do not do that anymore will not do that anymore, because the merchandise that he got alone made him a multi-billionaire.
Well, because before
he sold.
In the mid and late 70s, like in 77 when it came out, movies weren't doing merchandise like they do now. I mean, but he just kind of thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot, and You guys give me whatever his percentage was on. I don't think he had full merchandise.
Yeah.
Was it full?
Uh-huh.
Okay, then that's on the studio. But yeah, he got that, and he, like you say, he has turned it into an empire, and he sold to Disney for what, $4 billion?
Which even, I mean, back then when he sold it, that's a lot of money.
Well,
but they made a profit.
Oh, absolutely.
After probably
but
The Last Jedi.
But I would say they made a profit.
They got that $4 billion back.
Oh, yeah.
Then some way.
But I would also say they made that profit partially on his back. Not that he did the work, but they were just trading in on the name.
Of course.
Because it's like we said back when we were discussing.
They paid a bargain for it. That was a steal.
Well, it's like back when we were discussing the animated movies. It's that name recognition. They know that they can put out whatever they want, and there are droves. And I'm guilty as anyone else. I will go see a Star Wars movie because it's fucking Star Wars. Because I want to go see Star Wars. I want to go see lightsabers and blasters and the Millennium Falcon on the big screen in the theater. And then I saw Rise of Skywalker, and I said, I don't know if I'm going to do that again.
Yeah, Last Jedi was the last one I seen.
I hate that movie.
Well, I did see.
I dislike it.
Yeah, I seen Rogue One in theaters, so that was the last one I seen. Yeah.
I don't even remember if I saw Rogue One in theaters.
I saw Rogue One in theaters. I like Rogue One. It's split.
But I did see Last Jedi in theaters. I did not enjoy it. There were things I liked about it. I just, overall, I did not enjoy the movie. And after that, I just kind of said, you know what? Prove me wrong next time. Because I'm not doing another theater with this Skywalker saga, whatever you want to call it. So I watched... I didn't even pay attention when Rise of Skywalker came out.
I did not see it on purpose.
But I watched it later through streaming or however I watched it. I don't remember. But I watched it, did not like it, was really glad I didn't spend the, $16 it is now to go see a movie. To me that was a no. But no, the original Star Wars will always have a special place in my heart. The whole original trilogy will.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm looking at it right now on my shelf. I have the original box set on VHS before they made those remasters in '97.
And with the gold box?
Nope, I don't have. Nope.
Yeah.
This is the one. This was mine.
Box.
I remember a buddy of mine had the gold, and the other one had the silver. This is the one I've always had. This isn't my original. I was actually able to find this.
The original Sarlacc pit.
Oh, without the beak and without the tentacles, the way it's supposed to be. It was a pit. It wasn't a mouth in a pit.
That fucking.
And I will say this. I'm sorry if I'm about to get a little loud. Han shot first. The end. Moving on.
They had 3 different ones. They had the original where he shot first. Then they shot at the same time, and then it was Greedo shot first.
That's one of the stupidest decisions to me in movie history.
And when you
film
see
history,
like,
and it just
he like moved his neck in a way that's not even really possible. He just moved his neck. That shit looks so fake.
It's terrible. But I mean, that's the way they wanted because George didn't want him to seem heartless or whatever it was, and
which that was the original point of his character. He's
a scoundrel. He's called that through all 3 movies.
He's a piece of shit up until
he's a drug runner.
He's a straight smuggler.
That's what I mean, of spice, which is to them is drugs. He's literally a drug runner.
Yep.
But
yeah, and he had one of the biggest redemption arcs in movies at the time, which that's why part of the reason why he's such an iconic character.
Absolutely. All right. So, what is your number 2?
Ooh, my number 2 is a sequel that is, to me, better than the original.
Really?
It defies action movies.
Oh.
For me.
I think I know right where you're going with this one.
To me, yeah, it's not only the perfect movie, it's the perfect action movie, it's the perfect summer blockbuster movie. This, to me, doesn't have a single flaw unless a whiny teenager is a flaw again.
I definitely know what you're talking about now.
That movie is Terminator 2 or T2.
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. Yeah, that. Like I said, it's the perfect action movie. Every single bit of that movie, I absolutely love. Every scene from when he first, because the first Terminator, I didn't really care for, and it's a complete different genre.
First Terminator is almost like a horror movie,
and he's like the bad guy. He didn't really talk, so I didn't really care for that. But when the sequel came, it was okay. He's a good guy now, and I was a huge fan of like Arnold Schwarzenegger because my dad's just an action junkie. So I was always used to him being a good guy, and just the scenes with him versus the T-1000, Sarah Connor, the fact that she was honestly one of the first, because I didn't really watch Aliens, so she was the first like badass female character that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
at the time.
Same for me,
dude. She was ripped. It was one of the first movies that used like special effects, like computer, like CGI, and they used it brilliantly. The practical effects were great because they brought in twins to do some of the T-1000 scenes. Just the action's great. Yeah, it's to me just the definition, the blueprint for action blockbuster movies. It doesn't have a single boring part in it. You're in it from the beginning to the end. It's got classic lines that you still see in movies and today, like "I'll be back," "No problemo." Like there's a lot of lines from the movie that I quote still to this day, and because of that, that's definitely has to be on my top 5 list for definitive movies.
All right, so I debated long and hard about putting this one on my list. It is in my honorable mentions. It didn't quite make it, but no, you're absolutely right. It is, to me, it is probably the greatest, pound for pound, the greatest standalone action movie of all time. It's so good, from the way Robert Patrick plays the menacing T-1000 and Arnold, and there are things not that bother me, but like you say, the whiny teenager Edward Furlong is he's rough at several points in that movie, and even like the scenes where he's trying to teach the T-800 to smile, and it's almost, I
like those scenes.
They're funny, but it's almost he almost looks creepy when the way he does it.
What, Arnold?
Yeah,
I think that's the
part
of the point, right?
But no, that movie it's fantastic. The special effects are incredible. The liquid metal, all of that stuff is so good, and like you say, Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton. Yeah. If you just go a side by side of her in the first one to the second, it really does show like her character goes through this massive transformation into this just almost like a mercenary, and you can see that in the physicality of the way she looks from the first to the second movie, and the dedication that she put in to get herself to look like to look proper for the part.
Yeah, you've never seen that in another movie before that, where like, the female character is like, aliens aside, where you realize, women can be badass characters too, not just the damsel in distress.
Yeah, for sure, and I agree. I was the same way as you. That was probably the first movie that I saw that predominant female action hero, badass character, and she is so good at it. Mm-hmm. And at times she's almost too good, like not too good at being the character, just like she
overshines a lot of the people.
Well, there's that, but even the character is almost like, it's almost to the point of borderline bloodthirsty, I guess. Like she doesn't want to listen to reason, and it's just
you believe that
the only way I can do this is by killing these people instead of trying to fix it. And it gets almost scary at certain points, the way that her character does it,
which is good. Like, you believe, like, yeah, she's been through the shitter. She knows where humanity is headed, and she's trying desperately to stop it by any means necessary.
Oh yeah.
And yeah,
and like you said, the lines, they're iconic. I mean, the "Hasta la vista," and of course the Arnold. Like, I mean, to me, my favorite is, and this is a terrible Arnold impression, but and it's not even a badass line. It's when he gets to the biker bar and he goes to the guy and he goes, "I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle." Yeah. It's just, and then he just gets in that the guy puts the cigar out and that fight is on, and it's so cool.
I thought he was butt-ass naked in that scene.
He was.
No, he wasn't. He was wearing pants. There's like a behind-the-scenes picture.
You mean you thought he was filming butt naked?
Yeah.
No.
At least some booty shorts or something. No, he had all long-ass pants. I'm like, oh, man, this ruined the whole scene. Don't see butt-ass naked Arnold.
Well, he is butt naked at one point when he comes out of the...
and that fucking, you see his ass? That Arnold squat ass, yeah. Yeah, for like a second. I thought it was the whole that whole scene.
No.
Whatever. But yeah, besides that, it's a perfect movie.
No, it is. It's a fantastic movie, and it's one that I rewatch. I probably rewatch that movie once a year, every other year type thing.
Yeah, it's a definitive action movie.
And you're right, I go back to that way more than I go back to the first Terminator, or any one since.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, it's a case where the sequel is better than the first, which...
Well, it's that is like head and shoulders better than the first. It's not just a little bit, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that one. All right, so we're
at number one now.
Yeah, we're at number one. So my number one is I saw this movie obviously when I was a kid, and it blew me away. I mean, even now, just thinking of certain parts, like so many years after I had seen it for the first time, it still gives me chills and just goosebumps, and for me that was Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. When I can still remember, I didn't see it in theaters, but I can still remember when I first saw that movie, and it's the iconic scene that everybody who's seen this movie, and I can't imagine there are many people out there who haven't seen this movie, but it's the scene where they're in the Jeep, and Sam Neill, he gets up and he pulls the glasses off and turns Laura Dern's head, and you get to see these animals and the Brachiosaurus, and the music in the background is swelling, and it just thinking about it just gives me the chills, and the great script, obviously based on the Michael Crichton novel that's quite different than the movie, but the script is so good, it is so tight, and the acting, the portrayals of the characters, and then of course you get into the model work and the CGI and what they accomplished with that movie. I mean, I've watched documentaries on it. There's even to go back real quick to your Terminator 2, there's a documentary series on Disney Plus, came out, I believe it was last year. It's called Light and Magic, and it goes through the history of ILM. And for the few of you out there who might not know who ILM is, I'm sure a lot of you know who they are. It's Industrial Light and Magic was Bruce George Lucas's special effects company that they had started with for Star Wars. And if you think of a movie that has special effects in it, I would bet almost anything that I have, ILM has had a part in doing it. They're the best there is, and they've been the best there is since the 70s. I would highly recommend everybody checking that documentary out if you're interested in that type of stuff. But back to Jurassic Park, the work that they did in getting, because that's a big part of that show too, is they have a whole episode, I think it is, on Jurassic Park, but what they did to get that full-sized running T-Rex all done in computer animation, and that was in 93, and that still holds up today.
Yeah, because they use practical too, right? They got
Well,
like an actual animatronic.
They did. They had, so the scene when they're just outside the paddock and the T-Rex is at the Jeep when Lex and Tim are in the Jeep.
Close-up shots of
the close-up shots. They built a full-sized T-Rex, and the funny story behind that is, I believe it was, I don't want to say the wrong name, but so I won't even say it. But I forget. I can't remember who it was who had made the puppet or the animatronic. But I remember I heard a story he had told Steven Spielberg. Was it Stan Winston? Because that's the name that's coming to mind.
Something Baker's coming to me, but I think that's the makeups.
Yeah,
effects guy.
I can't remember, but he basically said to Steven Spielberg, "You can't get it wet." Well, of course they go on
in the rain.
They go on set. The whole scene is in the rain, so this thing is like a sponge, and it just is getting heavier and heavier. And they had so many problems. It was dangerous. It was dangerous because this thing would start malfunctioning because of the rain and the weight, and the T-Rex would start moving and twitching involuntarily, and
it was like a Jaws situation.
Oh yeah, it really. I mean, even the scene. This is another one that the scene when the kids are in the Jeep and the T-Rex comes through the big skylight.
Yeah,
that wasn't planned. Well, that wasn't planned. He wasn't
really?
The animatronic was not supposed to go through the skylight like that. So the terror you see on those kids' faces is real because it wasn't supposed to happen, and it just.
I made that scene better.
Absolutely, it did.
Oh shit! They go.
But yeah, that was the animatronic, and then the chasing, the bus go faster scene, and when it's chasing the Jeep, and at the end, when it's in the atrium with when dinosaurs ruled the earth, banner falling. I believe that is all CGI, but it looks better than things that I've seen.
Yeah, it still holds up. Honestly, it still holds up, and I think the marriage between practical
and fantastic
special effects is the way to go when it comes to these movies, man. Because if you have something that's all CG, it's gonna get dated, and it's not gonna hold up in 10, 15 plus years. It's rare if it does.
I understand doing the CG in terms of like a background. Like I know that a lot of the Marvel movies. I mean, a lot of theirs are just 90% CGI nowadays anyways.
Everything green screen.
But one of the things that I've always come back to is in the Avengers, the whole background is CG and it looks fantastic. But then you watch other movies and it's some of their effects, like when they use CG for creatures and things, it doesn't look good. But this was in 93. This was 30 years ago. And it still is better than stuff that we have coming out today. Yeah. Somehow.
Because they didn't oversaturate it with
too much
CG.
No, they didn't
have him do too much, and you didn't show him that much.
No, that was the other thing.
Right? And usually the close-up shots, the actors were acting in front of like an actual practical
they're on a set,
right? As a practical dinosaur, like the scene where Newman gets freaking killed by that acid.
Oh, the Dilophosaurus, yeah.
That was real. I don't think that was CG at all. I think everything was...
I think that was an animatronic, yeah.
Everything's animatronic in that, right? So it's that marriage between those two things that you could still watch to this day and still believe that, like these things are in the scene, and it doesn't take you away from the scene as much as movies now, where you have a CG character and the background CG, and everything else is CG besides one actor or two actors in the movie, and it looks so fake.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. They were on a set. They filmed they filmed it in Hawaii, but they're on a set, so they've got real things around them, and just one aspect is CGI. Whereas that's the thing I always go back to when people talk about CGI is I read an interview that Hayden Christensen had given when they did Attack of the Clones, and they asked him what it was like filming that movie, and that movie has jokingly been referred to by so many people as green screen the movie, because it kind of was. And Hayden Christensen has been basically said in an interview that his favorite scene to shoot was when they go in the bar when the guy offers Obi-Wan death sticks. And he said the reason that was his favorite scene to shoot is because that scene had a legit set, which is insane. In a 2+ hour movie, they shot one scene on a legit set. Everything else was in front of a green screen or blue screen, whatever you want to call it, and it was all filled in later in post and so with CGI. That's insane.
Yeah, that movie was Jurassic Park it came out at the perfect time, because it was just before CG complete takeover.
Yes.
And the fact that you had Steven Spielberg, who was also directing at the time another crazy Oscar-worthy movie, that just adds layers to how great this movie is.
Yeah, he wrapped Jurassic Park, went to Poland or wherever he shot, was filming Schindler's List, and then was editing Jurassic Park at night. I mean, the dedication of that guy and the talent that he had to do those two movies in 1 year.
Yeah, you'll never see a director
not like that, never again.
Come close.
Unless he does it again.
Yeah.
But it's funny, those so your number 2 and my number 1 with T2 and Jurassic Park are kind of the two movies that helped usher movies into this CGI world. And
yeah, they were pioneers.
Well, but they both did it in a way where they used it sparingly. They didn't rely on it, whereas movies nowadays do. And I think that is a very telling thing in what way movies could have gone. I mean, had they stayed with that, I think the impact would have been huge, but they've gone the other way, and they've just, like you said, oversaturated with the CGI, and it
instantly dates the movie when you have all CG something, right? When everything's CG. I'm looking at you, Green Lantern. That movie instantly dated itself by having the complete CG suit, which honestly to me is the worst decision.
Hey, you know what? What would have been fine with that? The suit looked kind of cool. Make it the poster.
It looked.
Don't make it. Well, that's the thing. Well,
I get
Green Lantern is an alien,
but it was just like. But you can shape it to whatever you want. So if you want it to look like a humanoid suit, you can.
Yeah. That's the thing. That would have been fine. Like that suit would have been fine for like a poster promotional thing, but they did it for the whole thing. And like you say, it's just relying on it instead of using it as a tool. They're now at the point they use it not even as a tool, as a crutch.
Yeah, use it to enhance practical effects.
And it's to the point where that's now a regular saying. Oh, we'll just fix it in post. Because nowadays it's like, yeah, we can do that. We can do it with CGI, and a lot of people think that it's going to look the same, and it really doesn't. Yeah. But I digress. All right, we're at about. Oh, we've been doing this for a little while, so we'll get to your number 1 now.
Number 1, I chose just mostly because of the build-up of so many movies before it. This movie was the culmination of 10 or 12 movies before then. The theater experience I had with this movie, going with my parents, and it being a packed theater, is the reason why it's on the list. I watched this movie and I still have those same feelings I did in 2012. The movie is The Avengers.
As soon as you said the year, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, man.
Well, now I feel bad that I used that as an example for the CGI background.
I know. I was going to say something, but I was like, nah, you give it away. I love The Avengers, man. Because before then, if you would have said that The Avengers were going to be a movie, but even before this, the MCU, or even if you want to say the first Iron Man came out, I still wouldn't have believed it.
Nobody would have.
The fact that they have got all these characters with different tones with the respective movies all come together wasn't even thought of at the time. Like, crossover movies wasn't really a thing, and they defined it. Not only did they define crossover movies, they defined the MCU. It was, the first Iron Man that started it. Captain America carried it. You get the Thors, but it was when they teamed up. It was that first Avengers movie that really cemented the MCU in the zeitgeist. It made it a household name, all of these characters. Not a lot of people knew who Iron Man was. Or, people knew who Hulk was, sure.
They knew the name.
They didn't know
the backgrounds.
But they weren't a household name like that. Soon as the Avengers came out, everyone got such a boost in popularity. Hawkeye. People knew who Hawkeye was. That guy is such a D-list character. And
yeah, he is.
And now everyone knows who Hawkeye is. And the theater experience I had with that movie, just hearing the people's reactions, being next to my parents and experiencing their reactions, and just my own excitement and reactions to these scenes and the iconic scenes in the movie. That has to be number one for me, hands down. And it's a movie that I rewatch, if not every year, every other year. It's a movie I can go back to over and over. And to me, it's the originator. Endgame's great. It has one of the best scenes of the Avengers because such a build-up, but it was the Avengers that did it first. I like it because it did it first, and it definitely holds a special place in my heart because of that.
That's a great choice, and I couldn't agree more. It's a fantastic movie, and like you say, it was the culmination of those movies, and a lot of people are, the MCU started with Iron Man, and some people like this. Some people I've heard say that they think that it really started with like Captain America, but you can say it started wherever you want. But I think the moment that the MCU solidified itself in the history of film is the rotating shot.
Oh yeah,
when they all come together, and it's
the most iconic moment of the movie.
Absolutely, it might be the most. I mean, in a series, they're at now like 28 movies or something like that in the MCU.
In the high 20s.
It might be the most iconic shot in the entire MCU,
if not superhero movies.
Yeah,
it's hard to find a better one.
And at that moment, it's like it almost seems like they did it as almost a celebration shot, and they deserve it as almost like we did it. Like we took, like you say, these B-list type characters, the Thors, the Captain Americas, the Iron Mans, because they're not. I mean, let's be honest. Marvel's bread and butter for years has been Spider-Man and X-Men. And because they were owned by different companies, Fox and Sony, they couldn't do it. So they went this route, and as I've said before about other things, they bet on themselves, and it paid off big time. That scene, that rotating shot, it gives you chills, and like you say that, or like I was saying, that's kind of the reality of, we did this, we made this universe on film, and now we're just going to keep going with it, and going, and going.
Yeah, it changed the course of cinema, man. Now, like,
everything wants to be a franchise and a universe.
Yeah, everyone's trying to copy the MCU formula.
And I mean, I can't say you blame them, because look at the results.
Yeah, and all of them have failed because the MCU took its time.
Yeah, they allowed it to, and that's the thing. So many of these, they want that big money shot right up front, but
Yeah.
the MCU, they, like you say, they allowed it to build. It was slow. It took. Let's be honest. Iron Man was 2008, and Endgame was what, 2019.
Yeah.
That's 11. It took 11 years for it to culminate, and I mean, a lot of studios wouldn't want to wait that long.
Yeah, it was definitely a long game they were playing. It paid off. It definitely paid off.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Look at all their bank accounts.
Definitely. Yeah, especially Robert Downey Jr. Goodness. Yeah, the Avengers #1. Yeah, it is iconic.
Absolutely.
At such a level.
All right, so that about does it for our top fives. I've got some honorable mentions. If
Yeah, you want to fill up. Okay, I will go. Okay, yeah,
That's a big list.
It's a big list. Okay, I'm gonna go with the one movie that I mentioned before that changed the way I view things and driving. I will never drive behind a truck, especially if that truck.
Oh, good Lord!
Has lumber. Every time I walk into a room, I make sure there is nothing that's going to fall on something, that catches something, that'll end up killing me.
What if you have a bad dream?
That movie is Final Destination 2, I believe.
Yep. The logging truck is number 2. That's probably my favorite of the series.
I won't drive near a transport truck.
I'll be honest.
Because of that movie.
I've had the same fear many times.
Yeah, and that, honestly, you don't realize how that movie has affected so many people.
Or there's even the mother with the water bottle under the brakes.
Yeah, man. Like, that movie is so. My anxiety for that movie, it gets me every time, bro. But yeah, especially that one, number 2.
Yeah, that's I would say that's probably my favorite of that series. But no, I completely get where you're coming from with that. I've had those same thoughts.
Oh.
And as soon as you said it, I was like, shit, I have thought about that.
Right? Yeah, man.
All right, I'll go through one of my honorable mentions is Ghostbusters, 84 Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
Yeah, that's a great movie. It's
another perfect movie.
Oh yeah,
it's a perfect comedy.
It's kind of a horror, like
it's many genres.
It's so much scarier than the second movie, because the second one, again, they tried to make it.
The second one is
more kid friendly.
It's a kid friendly version of the first one, almost beat for beat.
But that the first movie, even some of the ghost, the librarian, it's just they freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah, another lightning in the bottle movie. They couldn't even get near.
And I mean,
the results of the first one from the second one. And
you get. I mean, I don't know how you could go wrong. You've got Aykroyd and Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and
SNL alum.
Man. And then I mean, one of my favorite characters in the movie is Ernie Hudson.
Yeah.
He just comes in and just he has a swagger in that movie that just.
Yeah, I think it would have been a totally different movie if they would have went their original choice, the person who they wanted as Winston. Eddie Murphy.
I think he would have gone way too over the top.
He would have outshined Bill Murray, and I don't think Bill Murray would even have. I don't think he would have went to the sequel.
No,
because he seems like he needs to be the guy.
He has that ego,
right?
But I will say, like I say, Ernie Hudson, he has to me what is my favorite line of that entire movie.
The Twinkie.
No, that's a big Twinkie. That's a good one. But no, I cannot see Eddie Murphy delivering this when they see the mayor and he goes, "I've seen shit that'll turn you white." Can you imagine Eddie Murphy?
I can see him saying that.
But he would go way over the top, and it
maybe
I don't think it would hit the same way it does when Ernie Hudson does it, because Ernie Hudson just seems more down to earth in the way he plays that role. Whereas I feel Eddie Murphy would be kind of wacky.
He would have been Eddie Murphy.
I get that,
as
but he
the character, right?
I think it would have been too much, in my opinion. I think Ernie Hudson was great, and that whole cast, it was like you say, lightning in a bottle. And
yeah, you needed a straight man. You couldn't have 4 fucking.
No, that was the thing.
So it was a good balance.
But
it was a perfect balance.
But the funny thing is, my favorite parts of that movie are probably the 2 straight men, and Harold Ramis and Ernie Hudson. I mean, that line with Ernie Hudson and Harold Ramis, what do you do for fun? I collect mold, spores, and fungus. Like, just...
Yeah, that movie, yeah, I get it. Yeah, like, the chemistry between everybody.
It's undeniable, and
it worked. It was perfect.
Yeah.
The fact that, yeah, it did terrify you as a little kid.
Oh, it did. I mean,
there were scenes like that, and then there was scenes that would make you laugh, and they even mixed in the scenes with.
You'd be scared and laughing.
Name? What's
Slimer?
Rick Moranis.
Oh, Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis, man, like that scene where he's being chased by the demon hell dog was both funny and terrifying.
He's so good
because
in that movie.
He made it funny with his expressions and the way he was acting.
He's so good.
But he's also being chased by this devil dog, and yeah, that's freaking terrifying because the design of the thing was terrifying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just so many things, so many genres blended in.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie.
It made that movie perfect.
All right, so we'll run through a few more of these honorable mentions.
I got one.
I don't know if we'll do our whole lists, but
yeah, I'll just do a couple more. This one was the first movie that I ever cried. It's embarrassing. It is a completely forgettable movie. I don't think everybody watched it. It was My Dog Skip.
Oh, good God.
That movie. Just the ending made me cry, only because he died.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler for a movie that no one cares about. He ended up dying like years and years later.
Who did, the dog or the kid?
The dog. The dog ended up dying after years, and the kid was a grown man. He was off at college or something or working, and the dog died in the kid's bed, the childhood bed. It was just
okay. That'd be tough.
Yeah. It was just that scene for some reason.
I don't remember.
Got to me, man. It just made me cry because he just wasn't with his dude.
I don't think I ever saw. I know that's the Frankie Muniz movie. I never saw it.
It's not that good. It's very middle of the road, but for some reason, dogs. Yeah. If you
I get it. I get
sad dog scenes. That should be a goddamn top 5 list. But yeah,
I don't think people would want to listen to that list.
Just be number crying for a freaking hour and a half. But yeah, I'll even want to go.
All right, no, mine. I'm gonna throw these two together. It would be Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade. I love Indiana Jones. I'm not a big fan of Temple of Doom, and I will not refer to the Shia movie. But
the Shia movie.
that movie's just forgettable, and there's a lot of problems with it. But I mean, there are parts of it I still enjoy. I still like watching Harrison Ford play Indiana Jones. But Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, I think they're both fantastic movies. Raiders to me is better, but I love the addition with Sean Connery as his father, and
which is weird because he was only like 7 years older than
I know.
It doesn't make any sense.
But that's
go with it.
That's movie casting. That's the way things work. I mean,
yeah.
But no, those movies they're so good. They're the action, the comedy, it all blends together so well, and it also I know that it's like Christian mythology and stuff like that in the movies, but I'm a big history guy, so it interests me in the idea of finding these ancient treasures and things like that, and again, it's Harrison Ford doing the same kind of thing he's doing in Star Wars, and just being that suave, charming guy and beating up Nazis. I mean, everybody loves to see a Nazi get beat up, so I don't really see how you can go wrong in these movies.
Yeah, Raiders was.
Plus, you get to see a little capuchin monkey do a Heil Hitler, which, as terrible as it is, it's pretty adorable to see the little monkey do that, even though he has a untimely end in that movie.
As he should, Nazi-ass monkey. I only recently watched Raiders.
That still blows my mind.
It just
but I'm glad you did, and you liked it?
Man. Yeah, it was good. I realized that, it was definitely before rating systems.
Oh, yeah.
Because motherfuckers were getting shot right in the head, and saw that shit.
Well, Temple of Doom is what...
I was like, oh, my God.
Temple of Doom...
I was like, Jesus.
Temple of Doom is what instituted the PG-13 rating when that came out.
For sure. I think it was the combination of that And another honorable mention I have is Poltergeist. I think it was those two movies.
Good Lord.
That, because Poltergeist, yeah, I think it was rated PG. And that movie needs to be PG-13.
If not worse.
Yeah, man. It was a crazy time back then. Yeah.
The 70s and 80s were it was like the Wild West. Just do whatever feels good and put it on screen, and we'll just give you a rating and put it out, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, Raiders, even though I watched it, not too long ago, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I can see why people love that franchise.
All right.
You went, right? So it's me?
Yeah, so now you go. Sorry, that's my bad.
I'm going to go... Okay, this is a movie that I've only seen once. I have to mention it because it's a movie that... It's one of those movies that are... It's great, brilliant, nothing wrong with it other than the subject matter. I'll only ever see it once because it's just too much. That's 12 Years a Slave. Powerful movie. It shows how it was pretty much raw. How it was back then. And yeah, man. It's visceral. It's one of those movies that I can't watch because I get upset. I can't watch it.
I can't blame you.
I need a buffer for at least
a day.
15, 20 minutes from white people. I can't talk. I can't because I just want to choke them.
So you and I can never watch that movie together then, clearly.
I'll need to go go to the bathroom or something.
We'll need those COVID shields
right?
between us so you can't just attack me.
Don't ever let me see Michael Fassbender in public because I'm going to fucking drop kick that guy.
I've never seen 12 Years a Slave.
Oh man!
I remember when it came out, and I thought that I not that I necessarily wanted to see that, obviously, but I thought, you know what, this could be an interesting movie to watch, and I never got around to it, and now as the years have kind of gone on, I just never went back to it.
You ever seen Django?
Yes, I love Django.
Remember the scene where like the slaves are walking and they have these crazy things on their neck?
The beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that.
The whole
2.5 fucking
hours.
movie, man. It's torturous. I get it. That's exactly how it was.
That's hard to see.
And that movie is the last slave movie I'll ever watch. I refuse to watch any other movie because I've seen it. Like I have seen it.
Yeah. No, I can't say I blame you.
I'm tired of seeing those type of movies. So.
So I think this is probably my last one. We've been recording this for quite a while now. So I'm just gonna go to on my list of honorable mentions, and oddly enough, so because we were making this for movies that kind of help us fall in love with cinema, I didn't put this one on there because I saw this one. This movie came out in 2008. So this wasn't a movie that when I was a kid or anything like that, but it did help reinvigorate some of my love for movies. And it is I would say it is probably, if not my favorite movie of all time, it is in the top 3, if not the top 2, and that is Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
That's
deserving.
It was funny when Batman Begins came out. I didn't want to see it. It was a weird it was a weird reaction because when I saw the trailer and it was that stupid kid nerd in me, and I saw the Tumblr and I went, that's not the Batmobile. This is not Batman. I wanted nothing to do with it. And then
what sold me with that movie was the trailer when he had the motorcycle and the Joker had like that Tommy gun. He was like, hit me. Well, the fact that he like did that circ, that was like, oh shoot, for some reason
love that.
That just grabbed me.
But when I saw like Batman Begins, I had no interest in it, and then I think it was probably about 2 or 3 months before Dark Knight came out, I said, you know what? Because I saw the trailer for The Dark Knight, and I saw just in the trailer form, the performance that Heath Ledger gave, and I said, you know what? I want to see this movie, so I have to watch the first one. And I watched it, and I said, I take it all back. This is a great movie. I like the way they did the way they did Batman, and I don't care what any of you people, you haters out there say. I don't mind the Christian Bale Batman voice. I get where it comes from. I get that he has to disguise his voice, and in those moments where he's yelling and screaming, he's going through emotional turmoil, and it's just his emotions get the better of him. But it doesn't bother me like it does bother most people. But no, The Dark Knight. Me and my friends went to a midnight showing. We saw it, and I remember when it started, and people around me were going, "Man, I can't see any way that Heath Ledger does better than Jack Nicholson." And by the end of the movie, we all kind of looked at each other, and it was like it was almost like telepathically we were all going, "Jack who?"
Yeah.
Like he knocked it out of the park, and then Christian Bale is great as Batman and Bruce Wayne, and Michael Caine, and just the Gary Oldman. The list of actors just goes on in that movie, and I could watch that movie any day of the week. Put me down in front of the TV, and I'm in from start to finish. It's a fantastic, phenomenal movie, and like I said, might very well be my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's the movie that definitely made you
scared of people in clown makeup.
It made you give people a chance, because
yes.
No one was giving Heath Ledger a chance at all, and the fact that his performance, he not only knocked it out of the park, he sent that shit to the next stadium, man. He is the definitive Joker,
and he is to this day the only that I can think of, the only actor in a superhero movie to be recognized by the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And even if he wouldn't have passed away, I still think he would have gotten that award, because he put everything he had into that role, and you saw it every frame he was on screen.
Yeah, he even terrified Michael Caine.
Oh, yeah, I heard that story when he first saw him.
The first time he met him, he said he was terrified. And, he's been in the business for a very long time. That says a lot there.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll go one more, even though I could go all day.
Oh yeah, we could have a few episodes on doing this.
This movie is the reason why I love spoof comedies, silly ass comedies that doesn't make sense. That shit coming out of nowhere. And that movie is The Naked Gun.
Okay.
I love The Naked Gun.
For some reason I thought you were going Scary Movie. I don't know why.
No.
I thought you were going with a Marlon Wayans was that moment.
Scary Movie's great, but it was, for me, Naked Gun's the first of those type of movies I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
And it still holds up. The jokes are still as funny. So many comedies stole so many bits from that movie. It's insane. The only reason why it probably doesn't get talked about as much is because one of the stars in the movie kind of killed two people.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Wasn't convicted.
The glove did. The glove,
we all know.
Hey.
We all know.
Hey, the glove didn't fit.
Wrote a whole book.
Yeah. A book.
Anyways, he was good in that movie.
No, he definitely was.
And just Leslie Nielsen. I always fudge up that name. I love him as an actor, man. He's so funny. And the fact that he started in these movies and was just so funny, his timing.
What was the body condoms? Was that the second one?
I think.
Or was that 33?
I remember the first one the most. The bit, one of my favorite bits was the bit where he's interrogating this guy, and he's bribing him with money.
Yeah.
But the other guy is bribing him with the same, so they keep passing around the same $20, $30. It's so funny, man. It made me love silly spoof movies. Till this day, I have such a passion for those movies based off that one movie.
No, that's a really good one. So
I think they're remaking it with.
are they're remaking Naked Gun
with what's his name? Taken.
Liam Neeson?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Liam Neeson. This was rumored.
That can't be true.
This was years ago, though. I haven't heard anything about it.
Oh my god! It says I'm on IMDb. I don't know how. It says pre-production. Liam Neeson is Frank Drebin.
I haven't heard any updates in years, but yeah, that was supposed to be, which is okay. I mean, whatever.
Again, it's a questionable cast, but
it's
that's
not
what you
going to
just
be as funny.
With Dark Knight. You never know
tell
what
you
somebody
right now,
can do.
I'll give it a shot just because I love spoof movies. That is one genre that kind of disappeared, and I think it was to the directors of what was it like Meet the Spartans. Forget those two guys' names, but they single-handedly destroyed the spoof franchise because it was those two guys that had all those terrible spoof movies, like
the guys you're talking about, Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer.
Yeah.
I don't know them
by their last names. Yeah, all the terrible spoof movies are them.
I'm looking at their list on IMDb right now, and yep.
Yeah, awful. They single-handedly destroyed a franchise that was once had just brilliant jokes, great timing, and it was actually funny. And they turned it into just something that was cheap jokes, super low-hanging fruit, and just wasn't funny.
Yeah, just cheap laughs and
super cheap laughs.
Yeah.
So Naked Gun, honorable mention as being one of the best spoof movies of all time.
All right. Well, so those are our lists, and that's kind of the movies that help define us and kind of what we're all about and what ones we love to revisit. And so if you guys would like to get in touch with us and maybe let us know some of your favorite movies or anything like that, you can follow us on Twitter at @geeked_podcast. You can also shoot us an email. We have an email address. It is geekedoutpod@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you. And like I say, just let us know maybe some of your top 5, top 10 movies or anything like that. We'd love to hear from you and see what you guys are interested in, and give us an idea of what direction we can go with the future of this.
Yeah, if there's any movies that we missed that would be on your honorable mentions or even your top 5,
I'm sure there would be.
I definitely would like to hear why those particular movies are on your list.
Why, yeah. All right, well, thank you for listening to another episode of Geeked Out, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Take care.